I, F22, feel guilty about wanting my own life away from my immigrant parents, F and M58. My parents are both undocumented immigrants from Central and South America. I love them dearly and will forever be grateful for the opportunities they opened up for me. Growing up, our household struggled a lot financially and emotionally. I grew up in an emotionally and physically abusive household that was constantly struggling to make ends meet. When I was younger, I had a lot of resentment towards my parents during events of abuse that quickly turned into guilt for feeling any sort of anger towards my parents. My parents always reminded me that I had to be grateful for what they were able to provide in this country compared to their home countries. I grew up with this motivation that I had to do everything I could to give back to my parents. As the older child, I felt like it was my responsibility to be successful for them while putting myself second. I'm going to be graduating college soon, but I'm starting to feel like this responsibility to my parents is holding me down. I don't feel like an adult, I feel like a teenager that has no autonomy. I can't purchase the things I want without feeling guilty that I'm spending too much money on myself. I can't look or dress the way I want because I have to dress and look modest. I can't go on trips or events if I don't get permission. Before COVID-19, this feeling has recently got to me because my parents want to buy a house together. We've been renting for about 9 years since we lost our home during the recession. Felt like this is what I've been working towards, which is being able to financially help my family. I do want to help them in whatever way I can, especially because they're getting older and I don't want them to continue working. They also don't qualify for Social Security benefits. I don't want to put them in a retirement home because I know they and my family would hate me for it. I feel like buying a house together is going to be a contract to continue living the way I am now. I feel guilty for even wanting my own life. I feel guilty that I want my own life after all my parents did to be able to provide for me. I don't really know what to do in this situation. I don't know if I'd even be able to make enough money to help with house payments and still have my own place. I just feel stuck. I don't know how to talk to them about this, as we've never really had family discussions or talks about our feelings. Thank you to anyone who took time to read this. TL Doctor, I feel guilty over wanting to start my own life because I feel a responsibility to financially help my undocumented parents despite their toxic and abusive behavior. First, at 58, they are not at retirement age. If they are disabled it is one thing, but I am assuming you are living in the United States. Retirement is most often happening in the late 60s for people, and some don't have that option. Your folks need to work and save as much as possible. When they have money saved, you can try to help them with the bank. Don't let them guilt you on buying more house than they need. They need only enough house for them. It will be a fair amount of time for them to able to qualify for anything since they lost a house. You may have come from a generational care culture, but are living in a different one. You do not need to live with your parents your entire life or pay for their choices. They didn't move for you. They moved for themselves. Yes, you benefited, but you weren't given choices along the way. The culture they came from is generational, but the one you are in is not. You and they are going to have some hard conversations. Talk to your bank manager and your student advisor for help on becoming independent, and finding the tools your parents will need to become independent as well. If you buy a house with your parents, you will never live on your own, and you will continue to live as a child in a house you own and pay for. It sounds ridiculous. You've got to tell them that you're moving out and start living your life. Your parents chose to have a child, and you're not responsible for paying them for that choice the rest of your life. They will take it badly when you leave, but that's on them. Start living your life. The comments written are spot on. You should be independent and shouldn't feel bad for wanting that. I don't come from a culture where children take care of parents, but I know people who do. It can be hard, especially when you feel like you owe them. But maybe instead you can partially contribute funds to them. Tell them you will give them $X amount per month. I'm betting they wouldn't handle moving out news well, so think about finding a place to move before telling them. If they care about you and want to maintain a relationship, then they will accept what you're offering. If they don't, then you know they only cared about you as a form of monetary stability. Take time to decide, but remember that you aren't asked asking for permission or their opinion. Tell them this is what you are offering so they can take it or leave it. I'm sure they will guilt you, but only you can rely on yourself for happiness and making the right choices. Everyone else is doing what is in their own best interest, so you should too. I just turned 25 and I live on my own. It's honestly so great to be independent. I work, I pay my own bills, I paid for my schooling too. It's hard sometimes, but I wouldn't trade this for anything. You will learn so much more about yourself and will grow in ways you never imagined. I've had good and bad relationships with my parents, but separating myself from it has helped so much. Just something to keep in mind. My boyfriend, 34/M, said horrible things to me, 29/F, during a fight just now, and I don't know if I can ever get over it. I'm very upset right now, so I'm sorry if this is all over the place. I have issues with anxiety that have caused a strain on my boyfriend. I've been going to therapy for the past month or so and have improved and am actively working on it, but I still have moments of anxiety around our relationship. We've been together 2.5 years. Tonight, I was feeling sad because of the impending election and general state of the world. My boyfriend seemed annoyed by this and started talking about how much my negative feelings overwhelm him. I tried to explain that it had nothing to do with him, I just felt a little down, but he kept getting more and more angry about me making his life harder. We had some more back and forth and he started saying things I consider pretty horrible. He said that my net cost as a resource was negative, and that he wasn't getting anything out of the relationship. He said that all the reasons for being with me were theoretical. I was shocked at this and began to cry and told him he was breaking my heart, and then I raised my voice and told him to take it back. He yelled back that it was true, and my negatives outweighed my positives, so it was basically like my positives didn't exist. I told him I'd been trying really hard to work on things, which he's praised me for before, and he said I don't see how you can be doing much work when you sit around in your robe all day doing nothing. I have a demanding full-time job at a big tech company. I left our place in a state of shock and called my friend crying, who basically said that the things he said were horrible and verbally abusive. I came back to the apartment expecting an apology, but he said he stood by what he said, and the only thing he was sorry for was the comment about doing nothing all day. I feel heartbroken. He's been like this a couple times before, but we had agreed to never speak to each other like that again. I'm not sure if I can ever get past what he said or forget it. Should I just end this now, or are these kinds of fights to be expected in long-term relationships? Please help. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend said horrible things to me during fight. Don't know if this should be a deal breaker. His reaction is his real feelings. He's with you for the convenience of not having to move or find a place to live. I have anxiety issues and I completely understand why it's hard for my loved ones to handle and how it can be frustrating, but the difference is that I still feel loved at the end of the day. Yes, we have mental illnesses, but we all deserve the same amount of love from others. I hope you find that. This isn't going to work out. Look, being with someone who has mental health issues is not easy. Not everyone can do that, and that is fair. He should break up with you if he feels he isn't getting enough out of the relationship. But he doesn't get to do this. He doesn't get to pick fights and make you feel worse than you already were. He doesn't get to neg you, to make you feel worthless. Someone who loves you doesn't use that kind of language. Heck, even someone who has any decency wouldn't use that kind of language. I promise you that there are plenty of people out there who can handle you in a relationship, who are kind and supportive, who will never make you feel broken because your brain has decided to make more unhappy juices today. But you shouldn't hold out for this one to become that. He won't change. What would you tell a friend who had just told them they were less than worthless, and not for the first time? There's your answer. GTFO, this dude is gross. He's been like this a couple times before, but we had agreed to never speak to each other like that again. He's telling you who he is, deep down, a bit of an insecure bully. These things show up under stress, and are covered over, unnoticed when things are good. When you returned, he had a huge, undeserved chance to walk it back, and he chose to hurt you with what he said. Once, even twice over a very long period, is growing up and learning. Anything more is who he is. Emo, it sounds like who he is. Sorry. Cure is losing the anxiety, and specifically, the anxiety he causes. Honey, he's calling you're a resource. That's disgusting. You're a human being, not a resource. Your friend is right, he was being verbally abusive. Fact that he's refusing to even apologize is a red flag. Walk away. I get that it's not always easy to be the partner of someone with anxiety, but he was just being plain toxic instead of having a grown-up conversation about his feelings. My F34 mom sent a thank you email to my abusive ex that has held my dog hostage after our breakup and won't consider how painful that is to me. I feel betrayed. Your dog died is an email I received last week from my ex. Our unhealthy relationship ended in a divorce 4 years ago, and he bullied and hurt me to the point that I had to leave the country. My rescue dog was already 10 years old at the time and not fit for long-haul travel and quarantines, so I had no choice but to leave her with him. He's been always kind to her, and I was confident that he will look after her well. That meant that I got no news about her, no opportunities to visit even when I came back for a bit. I was scared to reach out and unleash more abuse, and ultimately I knew he hated me so much, he wouldn't let me. I just kept telling myself that all that matters is that she's in a safe and loving home and I have to let it go. My mom was very unsupportive of my decision to get a divorce, and her persistence in negative commentary and constant questions about this clearly painful topic led me to cut our relationship for almost a year after that. I just felt like I was too fragile to handle her reactions. We eventually reconnected when I turned my life around and was strong enough to talk to her again. She resumed her constant comments and questions, but I didn't want to damage the relationship further and just kept reminding myself that I can't change my parents. Instead, I tried to change my reactions to her, letting it slide all the time for the sake of peace. When I got that email that my dog died, I was hesitant to tell her because I knew it would stir something ugly again. But I did mention it casually next time we spoke. My ex gave me no details on my dog's death, and it was painful knowing I can't ask for more information or even a photo. A couple days later, Mum says she sent him an email thanking him for taking care of the dog, and he said he opted to put her down for health reasons and even sent her a video of the dog prior to that. I was in shock. How could she thank someone who's been abusive to me and even used my dog to hurt me? He never gave me heads up before putting her down or asking if I'm okay with it or wanted to see her before. The way it felt to me was his last big fuck you to hurt me, and the fact that Mom thinks it's okay to support this kind of behavior does my head in. Told her that I don't feel safe talking to her anymore, that she overstepped the boundaries I clearly marked many times. I've expressed once again how painful that breakup was and how badly my ex has treated me. I said I was very hurt and disappointed in the way she didn't pay attention to my feelings at all. Today she texted me saying that I take offense in everything. I don't, and that it wasn't about me, just the dog. It's my dog and she's dead. I'm absolutely devastated by her inability to hear me. Have I just lost a parent? How can our relationship move on from this? I'm so hurt. Pensive face. Too long didn't read. My mom sent a thank you email to my abusive ex that has held my dog hostage after our breakup and won't consider how painful that is to me. Feel betrayed.